Unbelievable performance from Geelong at the Adelaide Oval in the first qualifying final last night. As Jared said, 84-point victors over a disastrous Port Adelaide side who once again failed in finals. This is our review of that game for Conveyor Logistics, your warehouse automation solutions. The best analyst in football is David King. He's alongside of me. Kingy, your first thoughts? Certainly was stunned last night watching that.
Well, it was stunning. It was stunning. And to be frank, going into the game, I still thought they had to dethrone Dangerfield. He is still the clearance brute, the best in the comp. And everyone says, but others have gone past him. Heaney's gone past him. Then we change and we go, Neil's a better midfielder. And then we can make up the discussion back to Dacos. But they had three guys last night that have been in that conversation all year. And you just felt they had to come to Dangerfield's level, and they failed. I just thought the way that Patrick Dangerfield led last night set the footy club on their path. Yeah. I think we have to pay respect to what Geelong were able to do. Holmes and Dangerfield in that middle just ripped the heart out of Butters, Rosie, Horn-Francis, Drew and Wines, who should have held sway.
Yeah, smashed. Absolutely smashed. So I look at the first clearance, centre bounce clearance. Butters wins the first centre bounce clearance. He handballs it to Willem Drew, who just fumbles the footy. For no reason, he fumbles the football. Geelong go inside forward 50. Zerk Thatcher drops an easy, uncontested intercept mark. Bang, make a mistake. Then Port Adelaide get the ball. They turn it over with a 15-metre kick. I'm like, this is, what is going on? They kick it out of bounds. You get a throw in on the outer wing. I'm going, there's three mistakes in a minute where something is wrong with this group and they're off. Completely different to the last 9 weeks going into this. So there's two ways to attack this. I feel like the biggest story is Port Adelaide this morning. I think that's what we sort of need to deal with, and we will absolutely give Geelong their flowers and Chris Scott and everything that they have become and this team that they are for such a long period of time, the sustained success that they have been able to generate despite the fact the AFL want this to be an even competition. So Holmes, Dangerfield, Cameron, Stengel, all of them, unbelievable performance last night, and they set the game up exactly the way that they wanted to set that up.
So I've just got a simple question for you. Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it systematic? How does it fail so big in finals when they clearly haven't had these issues for the bulk of the home and away?
I think they lack resilience. That's what I think. I think they lack any little bit of resilience when things get a little bit tough. You can't give up in a final like that. You can't give up. And there was many, many times where I think Port Adelaide players last night made a decision to give up. The amount of long balls that they kicked, contest, then the ball hits the deck, like just a simple measure of who wins that ball at ground level after it comes off hands and hits the ground. It's very, very basic. I reckon Geelong won 80% of them. And not only did they then win it on the inside, they were able to get it on the outside and spread and run away from Port Adelaide like I haven't seen. The easy mistakes that these players had made, and look, you look at it and you go, there's probably 10 Port Adelaide players that weren't up to it last night and were found out from Burgoyne to Lockie Jones to Radaglia to Dixon to McEntee to Francis Evans the list goes on. The list goes on and on. So you had that from your bottom 10, but you also had that from your top 3 or 4, which you can't have. You can't have that from Connor Rosie last night. You're the captain of the footy club. You can't have a 13-14 disposal game where
Does
you
it
have
make
no
you question
influence.
his captaincy?
I don't know if they had another option. If it's not him, who?
They haven't. Well, let's track forward to the end of the year. I think your captain's your vice captain. I've said that for a long time. Butters plays like a captain to me, and he was clearly banged up last night. So you have to probably remove him a little bit from this discussion. But the way that Butters plays is different to the way that Rosie plays.
Is he committed to Port Adelaide long term? Like he signs 2-year contracts. Does he want to go home? He got that question mark. So if you go there, you're going to have that issue. But Rosie was disappointing. A disappointing year, Connor Rosie. But Ollie Wines had been in good form. What was that
Great
from?
Form.
What was that from Ollie Wines? What was that from Willem Drew last night? What was that from Jordan Sweet? Dominate hit-outs, but there was no connection at all with your mid. So he's whacking the ball out into space, exactly where Holmes wanted it, and he was just able to pick them off repeatedly and then run away from it. So to answer your question, and they lack resilience, this group, and you've seen it too often where when things get a little bit hard, they aren't prepared to really dig in and try and get momentum back onto their terms. And yeah, some of the efforts which you'll show and I'll show across the course of the weekend, just not acceptable. And It's the last 4 finals have been a similar story.
So going into this game, right, the biggest threat, the biggest weapon that Port Adelaide had was the midfield. 6 scores to 20 from clearance.
Can you believe that?
6 to 20 in favour of the Cats.
Unbelievable.
75 points the Cats. So just to put this in a perspective, because it's very difficult to you throw out numbers and people say, well, what's an average or what does that look like? So they scored 75 points. If you take away the West Coast games from the last couple of years against Geelong, that is their best scoring from clearance game for 5 years. For 5 years in a final against Rosie
with no
or
Tom
Francis, with 2 guys,
and with a ruckman who I was honestly ready to give up on Stanley.
Mate, he'd be on 150 a year, Stanley. He's the
subbed
best
out
value ruckman
in the
of all time.
second quarter last time these two sides met. Like he got genuinely dragged, subbed out last time these two sides met at Geelong.
So that's something that's gonna sit in the pit of their stomach.
So that's on your highest paid leaders of the footy club. Like this isn't on the Francis Evans, the Jed McEntees, the Quinton Narkles.
No.
That's not on. It's on. Put your hand up for the ones that needed to be there last night. And I wonder whether they got it right. And you can look at all sorts of things, but Horn Francis starts on the bench quarter 1, quarter 2.
What's that?
I don't know why that happens. And I said this earlier on in the year. I never ever see Butters, Rosie, Horn Francis on ball together. And I thought after half time and Butters was out, and I didn't realise this, but I said it. So surely you just put it on those 3. You are our guys. Put them in there together and go and get it done for at least 10 minutes.
I want one resting forward.
Well, I don't, something.
It should be on
not
the field.
Not on the bench. So that was a mistake because he was the one that looked angry and looked as though he was willing to dig in, but he's on the bench or he's forward and they couldn't get that right. So how you can have the stats will blow your mind from last night, but how you can have 38 scoring shots and there was a few out in the fulls as well from 57 entries. Put that in. That's almost like every time you go inside forward 50, you are having a look at the goal.
Second worst result for the year it was.
Amazing.
Second worst result defensively for the year. So there are things that you can't really plan for and things that just happen. So skill errors, young players making mistakes, getting caught in poor positions, it's going to happen. So you have to factor, there's a percentage of those every time you front up, right? So I looked at the way that they were prepped, the plan coming in. So if Geelong are going to get you right, their number one way of getting you is those small forwards taking you into a bit of traffic or up the field and get you out the back. And now that happened for 120 minutes last night. And I thought that is the most inept planning that I have ever seen when you know what's coming. They knew what was coming. So you don't need to be Dan Houston to get your positioning right against a reference point forward like Myers or Close. Although Close was brilliant last night. Stengel. Stengel got the goal square unopposed, I reckon, 6 times in the first 20 minutes.
It's amazing. And the first stoppage, that exact thing happened where they got them out the back.
Whose fault's that? Who's responsible for that? People come at me and say, oh, you're too hard on coaches. You're too hard on Ken. You're too hard on Chris. 2 weeks to plan for Geelong coming to town playing exactly. They are a known product. We've seen them do this for 2 years.
We had Ken. You sat in for a bit of the interview we had with Ken Hinkley last night on Sports Day, and I asked him that question. I said, they're going to bring their half forwards up. They're going to crowd your stoppage. They're going to try and get you out the back. He said, yep, that's what they'll do. They do that every week, not just against us.
We're ready for that.
They knew it was. We all knew it was coming. I saw Jimmy Bartell at the airport. He knew it was coming. Like it was. So I don't know. So to answer your question, I mean, it's coaching and it's the inability of the players to execute, and whether they just thought it's a final, we'll back in ourselves to be too tough inside and to get it on our terms from there, and then they'll have to change things. And all of a sudden, they're just, I mean, it's game over. It looked as, and I don't know if you've got the set shots in front of you, Kingy, just in terms of scoring there, what they kick from set shot. This could have been worse. Could have been like a 140-point loss.
They kicked 7-11, but they were 0-6
They were 0-6 from set shots. Yeah. And some of those were Cameron and Henry both hit the post and from really gettable positions. So the game should have been over at quarter time. I'm
a big believer in the 0 to 30 from goal, right? If you're defensively poor, that's where you give it up. So they've scored 14 goals, 5, 0 to 30. 14-5. Haven't seen numbers like that. So the ground ball game, right, to put it into context, so when you're a defensive half, when you're a defensive 50 team, you usually outnumber the opposition because midfielders roll back and you've usually got some support. So they were +9 last night in the forward 50, the Cats, out-crumming and out-reading and getting forward of their defender. That's their best result for 5 years. So how do you when you allow these luxuries, you get smacked. So I think this is a planning performance that will be reviewed heavily in a couple of weeks' time, and people can say, "Oh, you're too hard," but that they are the facts.
Manor had 13 score involvements.
He was
Like,
awesome.
This is a guy that they just plucked as a 26-year-old. Like, just amazing. So, I mean, credit to Geelong, and we will have time to
We'll do Geelong after
pay
the break.
them their due respect,
So,
and we're also
I
going to
wanna ask
speak
you,
to Tom
though,
Atkins. So,
don't
yeah.
avoid this question.
No, this is where it goes to. Absolutely. You have to ask
Ken,
the question.
Have
Yeah.
you lost faith in Ken now?
Well, it's just time. It's just time.
Answer the question.
It's just time to, and it's not this week.
No.
But I always said right from the start, it's going to have to be a grand final performance in year 12 for him to be coaching next year. That's what I've always said. So I don't change from that. This week they're going to have to get through, and I don't suspect they're going to be able to turn it around in a week, particularly if Butters doesn't play. So and they can deal with that. But another straight sets exit, there's going to have to be a long external review of what has gone on at the footy club on the biggest stage. But the question to you on the reverse is that I think they've made their mind up on Josh Carr. So, I mean, Josh Carr's in the coach's box last night, sitting up there looking at the midfield. That's the way that they're going to go. I'm just not sure that's going to solve all the problems when you look at the lack of depth on the list and a playing group that lacks resilience. Just changing the coach, just changing him and go,
okay. Lack of depth on the list last night.
Well, I think you can.
They had the better squad last night, didn't they? They had the better squad.
Yeah, well, they didn't have an 84-point worse squad, did they, at home?
So I don't think it's about the
But
squad.
I'm projecting forward to say this is the group you've got. There's no draft picks. There's no Tom Barrass. There's no Josh Battle coming in. This is the squad you've got. And he's changing the coach. And look, it's probably the time for a new voice and a change and all that and a circuit breaker. I get all that. But that's not going to... So the Port fans that go, sack Ken Hinkley. Well, okay, what's next? What's your plan? Unless you're going to open it up and try and get the best coach for the club at the time and run a proper process, that's what I would be doing. That's what I've always said. Just to go, here's the keys to Josh Carr, who I love, and I think he's going to be a great senior coach one day. I just don't think that solves all your problems.
No, it doesn't. And I'm not just blaming Ken. This is a collaborative setup last night. Ken's not running the back line. So who's in charge of that? How do you allow that to happen? Okay, it can happen for a 10-minute window. You can have a bad patch with players playing that position for the first time or inexperienced players coming into your lineup. But at quarter time, you stamp that out. At half time, you stamp that out. It happened for 120 minutes. Let's let them loose in a sec. Just have a quick chat on Geelong if you can. Because are you surprised with the levels that Max Holmes has been able to get to in this last back half or last 10 weeks, 12 weeks?
I am. I just think he's now emerging as a star of the game.
Yeah.
But how's the healthy arrogance he played with last night? What about the kick in he took? And he just took like 4 bounces and got it over halfway. It's just the stuff that this guy can do, others can't. And I was surprised by his ability to win in the contest. That was the question I had over. Are you tough enough, really? Can you go inside? Are you tough enough? Or are you a wing half-back type? He's a genuine midfielder now, and he's had to be.
He's lost that nice player tag. Nice player.
Yeah.
What do you think of Max Holmes? A nice player.
Yeah.
Has the odd game where you go, gee, that's good. But that was dominant last night.
Now you go, when he's on the screen, you go, wow.
Wow.
And was Dangerfield that said he's got Chris Judd-like traits probably 2 years ago. And we're like, hang on, he's off his head. Even
they just find, this is a bit like the old Sydney Swans model. When they target someone, there's a role for them. So I thought, the ability to get the cobbled together midfield, they got forward of the ball last night, hit the scoreboard, they were terrific. Sean Manny you talk about, pick 36.
Yeah.
You go, Lawson Humphreys, my God, was he as composed last night? His ball use, it's absolutely sublime, pick 63. So they just have a happy knack of getting things right.
What about Zach Guthrie? Like, I remember watching Zach Guthrie 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago maybe, and saying, well, this guy's can't play. Like, he looks shaky when he's got the footy in his hands. He's making errors. He was built like a toothpick. And so I don't know, something about the development system at Geelong, they just do it better than everyone else. Because I'm not sure Zach Guthrie ends up being the player that he was, 27 at 100%, 4 intercept marks last night, rock solid, if that's at another club. Like, if that's at... If he's at North, if he's at Port Adelaide, is he the player that he's become in this Geelong development system, whatever it is and whatever they are doing. I don't think he does.
Yeah.
As you see, I'll put him in my top 3. I thought he was enormous. So there's another one we don't talk about.
We don't talk about him because and they're consistently Jeremy Cameron. Like when these games start, you sometimes just need someone to do something to say we're okay here, guys. I've got this right. That goal last night. That was. I haven't seen a player kick that sort of goal for a long time.
It's not supposed to bend that way.
It was unreal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then he did it again in the second term in another way, and then he ends up could have kicked 7. He's in white hot form. He would be the number 1 forward you would want in this final series. I know we talk about Hogan, but still the guy is Jeremy Cameron. What a recruit he has been. It is that time. Who are you putting in the gun this morning? I mean, speaking of options coming out of our ears this morning, I don't know which way to go. I mean, I could go 23 different directions this morning, but I'll let you start while I gather my thoughts.
I've had a scan around, and it's like a buffet. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what the most important matchup tonight for me is Tim English versus Lloyd Meek. If Tim English is going to be mauled in the ruck and allow first use and proactive service to this Hawk midfield, it'll be a long night for the Dogs. They're going to pick a tall forward line. They need to get the ball in deep and make hay down there. I just worry that English is uncompetitive at times as a genuine ruckman, good around the ground and does his thing and gets involved in scoring chains and can get you 15 to 20 disposals and look like a quality player, and he is a quality player. But as a ruckman, I'm watching as a tap ruckman, as a competitor, as someone who can stand up against the big frame of it, because Meek's been fantastic at forward 50 stoppages in particular.
Really important.
And his relationship now with Warple and Newcomb has gone to the next level. So if Tim English can get this done, I think the Dogs win and win well. But if he can't, look out.
Tim English is in the gun for David King, and that is all thanks to Grays.com, Australia's leading online auction marketplace. Look, let me I'm not letting Port Adelaide off the hook here. As I said, I could have put all 23 of them. I hope I've made my thoughts strongly enough of what I witnessed last night at the Adelaide Oval, where at stages in the second half they gave up. So I just wanted to be clear. They are all in the gun, all 23 of them last night, and chuck everyone else involved as well. But I really enjoyed the article from Riley Beveridge a few days ago on Tom Green from the Giants, where it basically goes into detail of how he is the new age footballer and how a lot of these footballers now are watching how the American athletes carry themselves and how confident they are in their own abilities. And Tom essentially believes he's the best player in football.
Yeah,
he's got that belief in him that I'm the guy. I'm the best player in football. So if you believe you're the best player in football, you're in the gun. And when you do an article like this and you say that, then it's about not what you say but what you do. Can he go to the SCG against this all-conquering Sydney midfielder, be the guy? Can he be the Giants' Patrick Cripps? Can he be the Bulldogs' Bontempelli? Is he that version for the Giants at his age now with the footy that he's played? He's 6'5", he's 105 kilos. He can rip the heart on the SCG out of Sydney in that midfield. So I've got him in the gun. I'd love to, and I reckon his form's been pretty good in the last month. I know you spoke about his form a little bit earlier on in the year and he just dropped off, but he has played like that grown man that we know that he can be. But when you put yourself out there like this, there's nothing wrong with that. We love it, but you've got to back it up on field. Tom Green in the gun.
I like that. You don't miss much. Not many players say that they're the best player in the comp.
Yeah.
Who was the previous player to say that, you reckon?
I reckon Lockie...
I'll tell you who you should have a conversation with this about.
Who?
Ian Buckley.
Yeah?
Because for a period he would...
Fig jam?
Well, I wasn't going to go there. That's very strong.
That's what they
That'll
called
get
him.
feedback.
No, that's what
True.
He was known as a youngster. Like I'm talking in the 90s.
Prepared the same way, and that sort of player, that sort of mindset.
Yeah, Lockie Neal, I reckon he did a podcast earlier on in the year, and he said before he goes out on the ground, he looks himself in the mirror and he says, I look at myself and I say, if you're on today, I'm the best player on the ground. That's what he says. Yeah. That's what Lockie Neal says to him. So largely Lockie Neal backs up. I haven't quite seen that from Tom, and he's a young man. He's got 10, 12 years left in the game, but put yourself out there, go and deliver on the biggest stage against a very good Sydney midfield, which this game is going to be perfectly suited for him. Contested, small ground, bang. Get it done. Grays.com, Australia's leading online auction marketplace. It's easy to buy and sell with Grays. We were just speaking in the ad break how much we are looking forward to tonight's game at the MCG. Kingy, that kicks off our Friday agenda. We got any idea how this is going to play out?
All I know is it's going to be a big night for Kane,
Oh,
or as Wayne likes to say, sea corns. Well, how do you see it? I think the most important part of tonight, we touched on the ruckman, we touched on midfield supply, the positioning of Jones and Lobb behind the ball. Do they get exposed for speed out the back and being pulled into different directions to break down their defence?
so you're looking at that end. I'm looking at the other end going, can the run and gun Hawthorn defence actually get the ball in a position where they can run and gun? Or is this Dogs forward line just going to rip their hearts out and continually mark the footy? I don't know who can control Darcy in the air if they give him that supply. So what a job for Sicily, Frost, for Scrimshaw, for Weddle, these types of players who have taken every challenge before them this year. This is a different beast tonight. So it is, like last night, can the lesser lights through the Hawthorn midfield compete with Treloar and Bont and Richards and Libba and limit the supply to this forward line? So, I mean, it is a fascinating... I can't remember looking forward to a game as much as this. The MCG on Friday night is perfect, and we'll wait and see what happens.
I think what you'll see in terms of the coaching battle, the Dogs will build the ball slowly to as close to the 50-metre arc as they can and drive it as deep as they can. So even if they lose that contest, it's not
Field
shallow
position.
entry, out at speed.
Exposure on the way
Gone.
out. Yeah, definitely. And you spoke about Port Adelaide and when to bite off the wrists. I just don't think the Hawthorn team care. Like D'Ambrosio will have a go. Amon will. Impey will. Sicily will. Weddle will. They haven't been daunted at all. So will they? So last night you saw it from the first moment. Port Adelaide, the bright lights of finals, couldn't cope. I don't know if we're going to see that with Hawthorn. We'll get a fair indication because you can probably trust what the Western Bulldogs are going to deliver with their form line and the experience that they've got and the big game players that they've got. I got no idea how this Hawthorn side are going to cope, other than to say they've taken on every challenge before them this year.
I think in finals, you'll work out whether you've got the man or not. And Bontempelli will show us again tonight why Dangerfield, Bontempelli, these guys we've lauded for years are absolutely the man.
There's no question, though, is there?
But so who is it for Hawthorn?
Yeah.
So do
Good
they
question.
absolutely? Is Newcomb absolutely the man? Is it? I know Day's not there. Is it Warple?
Yeah.
Is Warple the centre bounce beast that they've talked about all year and has had a very good year?
Is it someone is it someone different? Is it Weddle? We emerge
Is it
and go,
Moore?
Yeah. Is it Dylan Moore the season that he has had? So he's probably their
Who's
best
their man?
player right now.
Who's their man? Is
Dunno.
my question.
Well, we may find out tonight. And there's a few young ones, Connor McDonald. These types of players that they've got that have the capability to do it. What can Sicily do? How's his body after a week off? But I think the Western Bulldogs will be too strong, and I think they'll.
You tipping them?
Yeah,
You're getting
tipping
off
the
your
Western.
boys.
No, just look at the.
Are you jumping ship?
I think
Don't get
whatever
off
happens, whatever happens, it's been such
Wearing
a
the shirt last week.
enjoyable year. Yeah, I'm still wearing the shirt. Don't worry about that. My heart is saying Hawthorn. My head is saying the Western
Do they
Bulldogs.
bring out pants? Because you've got a real pant issue at the airports these
I'm
days.
in all sorts with my pants at the airport. All right, we are continuing the agenda, and we'll go to Saturday at the SCG between the top of the table Swans taking on the Giants. Some good ins for both teams, it must be said, but I feel like Sydney's ins are stronger. McCartan, Papley, Heaney, McInerney in. Francis, Cleary, Fox and Adams is the big one who's been omitted, Taylor Adams. But the Giants got some good ins, as I said. Brent Daniels, Ash coming in. Thomas, Brown, Haynes are out. No Bedford, who hasn't got up for this game and wasn't selected. Lockie Ash will play game number 100. Sydney's ins just favour me to think that this is going all one way, and that's to the Sydney Swans, King.
I think they're the ones. I mean, we talked about it pre-final starting that when you're in this sort of health, it's hard to tip against them. Brent Daniels is still a question mark on whether he gets to the line, and Bedford's a big out because he's played on Warner the last couple of times. I just feel like they're getting more now from that next level of player. Luke Parker, Will Hayward, Cunningham.
Yeah,
those guys.
Campbell, players like that, being really
just doing
important.
more than what they have.
So can Sydney GWS slow down the electric ball movement that Sydney can produce? Can they stop that? Can they stop the Lizard Blakey off half back and their ball movement, their kickers, But I really like, as you said, their small to medium forwards at Sydney. I'm not a fan of their tall forwards, but they'll play their role. But for me, it'll be Heaney when he's forward, it'll be Hayward, it'll be Papley, depending on what sort of health that he's in that could cause havoc for them. And then the midfield and their burst and their goal-kicking ability there as well.
So for the year, you set everything up for Jesse Hogan, right? If that's your plan for the year, it has to pay dividends in your finals. So I'm interested to see whether he can actually get hold of Tom McCartan. McCartan's owned him the last couple of times. So if you're going to say all chips in, this is our avenue to goal, everything goes through Jesse, it has to work in finals. Otherwise, what have you set up for the home? What have you set up for the home and away season? Is it just pointless?
Yeah,
Does it run aground in big games?
That's why I think it's a big afternoon for Toby. Big afternoon. It's been Brent Daniels, the Hogan show, really, at the Giants, and Toby Green has become a bit of a bit part player, really. But, I mean, he's got a great record in finals. You're the captain of this side. You're going to get a matchup on a Cunningham, Mills, Florent type. Maybe Rampy goes there. He's got to have a big day. Toby's got to insert his influence into this game, be that forward to centre, be it in centre bounce if he goes there. Big afternoon for the captain, Toby Green, to take some of that pressure off Daniels and Hogan.
I love you, Tom Green in the gun. I reckon that's a ripper.
Big night.
He's got row bottom probably as the nominal matchup, head to head, big bodies banging in together. They beat you by just staring you down, toe to toe. He's not an on the mover. Green, he's a stand and deliver
He's
type
a Cripps.
guy. He's a nose to
do
nose
it like that.
Yep. So if it's up against a Warner at speed or a Heaney at speed, see you later.
That's how we see it. So that one will be interesting. And, of course, the winner through to a home prelim final, which brings us to the Gabba on Saturday night. A couple of changes, good ones for the Lions. Payne and Starcevic back in, so that definitely strengthens them up. Starcevic, the hardest player to get a kick on as a defender, I think, in football right now. Big in. Speaking of big ins, the Blues, they've made 6. Doherty we knew about. McGovern's got up. Mackay's got up. Williams to Koning and Chera at the moment as selected. No Curnow is the big one. Chincotta, Owies, Carroll, Moyer, Binns and Cooper Lord are out. And I give them 0 chance. So when I say this, what happens is the SEN digital team, in all of their wisdom, they'll clip this up. They'll put a graphic up.
Well, you are saying it.
I'm saying it, and I'm not complaining.
What will you do if they win?
What will I do if they
you're giving
win?
them 0 chance?
Zero.
I mean, this would be pretty lofty where you'd go.
Zero chance. The Carlton are making up the numbers in this game. They are making up the.
What will you
give
do?
It 0.
What will you do?
Who's my favourite Carlton player? I'm gonna have to get his Guernsey.
Nah,
and
more than that.
I'll see you
want more
Monday.
than
I
that.
call 0433 91116.
What should Cornsey do?
What should I do?
If Carlton get up?
It's
Oh,
not. It's
geez,
not
I'm gonna-
tattoo. It's not tattoo level like I'm
Nah.
going to get if Hawthorn win the flag. That is happening.
Well, that's
And
flag. That's different.
I would be
Yep.
more than happy to get a genius tattoo if Hawthorn
Yep.
wins. So that's definitely happening. So I can't commit to too many things.
Yes, you can. If you're going to make these big statements, back them
Will
up.
you give them a chance? Do you give the Blues a chance in this game, or are they making up the numbers?
No, you're never making up the numbers.
They're
with
making
those
up the
ends.
numbers.
I think Brisbane should win the game at home, but the same discussion was Port
Yeah.
Adelaide.
No,
So,
I know. I know.
My
Lucky
eyes,
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I know. My eyes go to why is Ashton Moore out of this team?
I thought that as well. I said that last night.
I thought it was the reason they nearly won last week.
And a perfect sub. So I think we spoke to Vossi about him
You
after
did?
that game.
Yes.
Yeah, and he said he's got some tricks, but he's got some work to do.
I
But a
actually asked
perfect
him
sub.
if you can start him on the field.
Yeah.
He's out of the team.
Yeah.
Vossi, come on. Makes me think, you know what, that one of them's not playing in the ins and he'll come back in.
So we'll wait and see. But no, Curnow is the big
Come on,
one.
Blues.
And
Come
that
on,
Carlton
Blues.
injury list, I bet you Curnow's still saying 1 to 2 weeks. He's been 1 to 2 weeks for 5 weeks. He's not up. It must be more serious than a rolled ankle. So if you could just sort that out, the Carlton media team.
Carlton win this, you and I will buy a Carlton membership next year.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right?
Let's do that.
Carlton.
Well,
Yep.
And that's fair.
And I'll
You can get the elevated package. I'll just get the normal
like
one.
they need any more members, but we
Sign
will.
the new
We
deal
will,
with 7.
we will definitely do
Flush
that.
with cash.
Things are going well, so we'll.
Not even bothering to come in and do the full 3 hours anymore.
Got you another coffee this morning.
I know. Well, you did say I've only done half the shift today. I was a little bit late.
I missed 3 minutes.